We have some more wild news to discuss today revolving around the Toronto Maple Leafs and Nikita Zadorov. So I'm going to break all that down as recent reports have continued to suggest that the Leafs are pursuing and actively looking to acquire the Flames defenseman amidst his big trade request following last night's game. So stay tuned for all that. But before we do get into the video, I want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button as we are on the road to 4,500 subscribers, and we notice a ton of you guys who are watching right now are not subscribed. So we produce daily Leafs content. Scroll down, check if you're subscribed. If you aren't, click the button, the red button, and that would mean a lot to us. Let's get right into it. We'll break down some potential trade proposals I've seen floating around, as well as a brand new report that dropped about an hour ago. So let's start with that, and we'll also break down and discuss the reports, obviously, from yesterday, in case you missed my video from late last night when the trade request went down. So this is from Darren Dreger an hour ago, saying Toronto, Vancouver, and the Devils are the clubs among strong interest in Nikita Zadorov. Chris Tanev, solid right shot D-man, is a huge draw, and of course Noah Hanifin. The Flames are in no hurry to sell assets, and a team steps up in a big way. Everything has to be considered. I'm not sensing urgency from Calgary. So this is very, very interesting, and it kind of conflicts a couple of reports that came out yesterday saying that both sides, being Zadorov and the Flames, would prefer if a trade gets done sooner than later. Because if you're the Flames and you have an unhappy player on your team, we all know the way the Flames have been operating the past couple weeks. Reports have continued to surface that they are looking to trade their assets. They are looking to retool, not necessarily rebuild and tank, but retool. And we'll get into a trade proposal in a little bit later on in the video, which I'm curious to see what you all think about that. But again, they're looking to make a trade to change up their team amidst their struggles, but they're not sensing any urgency from Calgary, is what Darren Dreger is saying, which is interesting. So it might take a bit longer for a trade to happen, and this also highlights that they're shopping, of course, Chris Tanev and Noah Hanifin, a couple of very, very solid players as well. And if you checked out our video from a few days ago, a report came out from Elliot Friedman saying that if the Leafs are going to acquire one of these guys, it would be a likely package including both Nikita Zadorov and Chris Tanev. So that's very, very interesting. And again, the package, if you're getting both of them, Tanev and Zadorov, would be much steeper than, of course, if you're just acquiring one of them. That being said, acquiring both of them would really shore up the defense and the defensive core that the Leafs have right now. But a reminder that Nikita is on a expiring contract, which is a little bit unfortunate, but who knows what the price will be. But this is a very, very interesting brand new report highlighting the three teams, and it makes tons of sense. The Canucks keep getting linked, and the Leafs play the Canucks tonight. They have been the best Canadian team so far. They've been unbelievable, and it makes sense that they're going to go for a defenseman in this case, Nikita Zadorov, especially with the way Thatcher Demko is playing. If you can put more defensive powerhouse guys in front of Thatcher Demko, then you're going to be, they're a very, very scary team. But if I'm the Leafs, and I discussed this in yesterday's video, and I'm Brad Treliving, I go out and I try to make a deal happen. If you read here again, the Flames are in no hurry to sell, but if a team steps up in a big way, everything has to be considered. Meaning if the Leafs or any of the other teams considering Nikita Zadorov steps up to the plate, whether it's the Canucks, the Devils, the Maple Leafs, anyone, then they might be forced to sell. Simple as that. They might be forced to sell, especially if the package and it gets in a bidding war between those three teams. And other teams can step in. We can see the Kings. We can see any other team step in and step up to the dish. Now, we're going to get into a quick mock trade for Nikita Zadorov here, and I'm curious to see what you all think about this trade. I just wanted to throw this one out before we get into a couple of other reports. So this one would be Zadorov, Brady Lyle, who's an AHL defenseman, and Calgary would get John Klingberg, Bobby McMahon, Roni Hirvonen, and 2 picks, one of them being a third-round pick and one of them being a fourth-round pick in 2024 and 2026, respectively. The 2024 one being from the New York Islanders. Now, I'm not going to harp on this too much. I'm curious to see what you all would think. At first glance, it looks very, very expensive for an expiring Nikita Zadorov. You're obviously giving up on John Klingberg very, very early, who's had a very, very poor season, but is returning to the lineup tonight, and hopefully he can turn it around. But I don't know if I do this deal if I'm the Leafs. You're giving up Klingberg, McMahon, and Hirvonen, and 2 picks. I feel like if you're giving up this much, you could consider trying to get Chris Tanev as well. But this would be the trade right now. You're also getting AHL defenseman Brady Lyle. I'm not too familiar with how good he's doing, but let me know in the comments if you're familiar with Brady Lyle. I didn't check that before the video, but let me know. It's very, very interesting, and it's an interesting trade, but this might be the type of package that Dreger is talking about here when saying if a team steps up in a big way. This would be a big way, but it would also be a humongous price tag to pay for an expiring contract and a guy who some Leafs fans don't even consider Zadorov a top 4 defenseman or, a top-end defenseman. So it's very, very intriguing, very, very interesting. I'm very, very curious to see what you all think about that in the comment section. And let's continue to go over some of the more recent speculations. So this is from a Leafs fan. Got a lot of traction saying, McMahon out tonight. Nikita Zadorov asked for a trade, and Dan Milston, agent, tweeted to buy Leafs tickets. Is he getting traded to Toronto? Kind of a joke. I believe this was before the big trade request went down, or it could have been after. But again, the big thing here is rumors continue to circulate. They continue to point to the Maple Leafs. But I just want to remind you guys not to forget that there's tons of other teams who could use Zadorov's services. He's a very, very good defenseman. Touching on how good of a defenseman he is. This is from Jerry Fesh on Twitter. Shout out to him. He does great work. He highlights these little graphics which show how good a player's being. So it says Nikita Zadorov, who's requested a trade from Calgary, is a physical defenseman, defense first blue liner who's an above average skater. Throws a lot of hits, but his play style does land him in the penalty box frequently. So the higher the number here, the better it is. He prevents above average WAR, great on the defensive end. His goals are 84th percentile. He finishes very, very solid. Gets a lot of penalties, though, which is the big thing. But he's an above average defenseman. That's the main thing. He's above average, being 55% WAR. And he's solid. He's just a solid player. He would just be such a good acquisition for the Maple Leafs. And again, looking at these stats here, he's not going to blow you away. He's above average because he's above a 50 WAR, being at 55. 50 is, 50% and below is average. But 55, he's above average. He's a solid skater, takes a ton of penalties. But at this point, I wouldn't care if the Leafs acquire a defenseman who takes a ton of penalties, because obviously you don't want him to get in a horrible habit of taking horrible penalties. But if you're battling for your guys, you're you're making major hits like we saw yesterday, his huge hit on Tyler Bertuzzi, and he scored a goal yesterday. Give me Nikita Zadorov on the team, and I would be very, very happy. I would be a happy camper. And again, if you missed the report from yesterday, it says with Nikita Zadorov looking to be traded out of Calgary, word is the pending UFA defenseman welcome a move to Toronto. So that was the big bomb out of yesterday, and literally right after the game ended, of course, Nikita Zadorov had a great hit, a great game, a great goal. Ultimately, the Flames lost. Shout out Mitch Marner for the phenomenal shootout goal. But the Leafs need to make a move. And I said this in yesterday's video. And if it takes a package like this, then you might have to hold your horses a little bit. But regardless, the Leafs need to improve their defensive core, especially if John Klingberg continues to play the way that he's been playing, which has not been very good. And if you're the Flames, you're getting 2 picks. You're getting John Klingberg, who has a very, very solid and high ceiling. He's kind of the polar opposite of a player like Nikita Zadorov in the sense of, Zadorov is a very defensive-minded blue liner, whereas Klingberg is more of the offensive-minded blue liner. And in this case, Toronto would be retaining the full $3.75 million of his salary. So this would be a good trade for the Flames. I'd assume the Flames do this in a heartbeat. You're getting a few solid players and 2 picks for an expiring UFA who doesn't want to be in Calgary. But again, if you're the Leafs, you do need to make a trade. I presume Brad Schliving's feeling a little bit of pressure, though he might wait until the deadline, which I'm hoping he doesn't do, because you want to shore it up as fast as possible. The Leafs, I believe, are 7-5-1 right now, so they're doing okay. They're treading water, but they need to make some improvements. McCabe is back, which is good. Klingberg is back tonight, which hopefully can be good. But if they can shore up that defensive blue line, we'll be in much better shape going forward, whether that's in the form of Nikita Zadorov or Chris Tanev or Noah Hannafin. But let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on that trade and the most recent reports. We're making daily videos for you guys, so hopefully you enjoy, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Or tonight.